Changes to real estate commissions. The interest rates are dropping a little bit. Inventory's rising a little bit. Is this it? Is this finally the time to jump in the housing market? I'm going to cover it today in September 2024 housing market update here for Richmond, Virginia. Now, if we take a look at this chart right here, in the past 3 years trends here in Richmond, Virginia, home prices have been rising with some bumps down here and there, but it's crazy to think that the median sales price of a home has risen over $100,000 in less than 4 years. Now, regarding pricing, I think a lot of folks think it's only down from here with prices reaching their max, but I would say we still have a little bit of ways to go as we still have high inflation, relatively low inventory, although that we've seen a bump up in this past couple months of inventory levels with houses on the market, and job market's still a problem. Now, regarding interest rates and how they kind of play into things, interest rates have been between around 6.5 and 7.5 within the past year and some change. And now we've seen, okay, now we're kind of creeping towards that end of lower sixes, which is wonderful, but understand that how that might affect prices with lowering rates. Lowering rates does make it more affordable for the buyer to get into the property, but it also makes it more affordable for every other buyer sitting on the sideline waiting for their time to attack in the market. Thus, creating a more competitive market for those homes on the market and driving up prices further. So it's kind of like a teeter-totter. You lower rates, you kind of higher prices in some of those popular areas where it may be more affordable to get in, so you're gonna have more people searching and then more competition to get that house. Now, until we surpass those inventory levels where we need a little cushion for the amount of demand that we have, unfortunately, we're stuck on that never-ending teeter-totter of lowering rates, prices, and then it kind of going back and forth as we adjust in this new market. Now, as a buyer, technically good news kind of coming up here in the winter months. Historically, it's kind of better of time to search in the winter as sellers are more typically motivated in this the winter to move. Also, with the election year kind of playing a role with things, historically, that really hasn't had any kind of effect of the house market other than the month of November in the election year. People tend to just be a little bit more cautious, so they kind of exit the market just temporarily before they jump back in. So if you're a buyer looking in this marketplace, I wouldn't give up in November because that might be your time to shine, jumping into the housing market, as a lot of people will be just kind of on the sidelines for that month, unknowing where our nation might lead. Now, as a seller, you still have a huge advantage being in a seller's market and having something that everybody wants, a house. As long as you don't overprice your house and you market correctly and you list and strategically place your property in the marketplace, giving time for other people to see it and hitting the ground running on weekend one, you should have no problem selling your house. If you overprice your house, if you don't market correctly, we're seeing now more than ever, that's really hurting given that more people are entering the market and interest rates are lowering and things are lasting on the market just a little bit longer than they typically would last year in this time. Now, quickly on the commission changes, there's 2 rules that have changed now since the middle of August. Number 1 being that you have to have a representation agreement with an agent to privately show that house. That's something that's typically standard, but a lot of agents, if you call on Zillow, hey, I want to see this house, instead of just meeting them out there, shaking the hand, going inside the property, and then saying maybe yes, no thanks, you now have to physically sign a form with that agent saying, hey, we're choosing you to represent me either on this house or for a specific time period. So I guess for that first rule, it just makes it harder for those folks who tried to negotiate on their own and use not an agent to buy a house. Because then you have to work out some kind of agreement to see the house since you don't want an agent to show you the house. So that a little bit of a problem there. Now, second rule is the big commission change, the news headline, hey, buyers are gonna have to start paying their agents, sellers can't offer commissions towards the buyers. What's going on with that? In reality, it has not changed anything. Most of the homes on the market, even after the change, are still offering commission towards a buyer's agent, but it just limits us now to where we can actually advertise that. In our big multiple listing service, kind of like a Zillow on steroids, realtors can see, or typically have seen, how much an agent will get paid out of that transaction. What has caused that to be now is we just have to take an extra step and confirm that with the agent or just include that in our offer. So it hasn't really changed too much. We're still negotiating our fee like it's always been. Our fee is always negotiable, as how it's always been, either with the seller, and it's their choice to either offer commission or not. Outside of that, I've seen a lot of houses since that change. I've talked to a lot of agents since that change here in the past half a month, and things are operating normally. There hasn't been too much of a restriction or bite back for that commission, and things are traditionally kind of running the same way. I think a lot of people are opposed for this lawsuit and this change, so people are still adapting to the same way of how it's always been. Now, if you're thinking about jumping in the market in the winter, next year, 2 years, let me know. I'm happy to chat with you, have a consultation just to see what we can do potentially at this point for you if you're buying or if you're selling, thinking about downsizing, upsizing, moving locations, getting out of town, getting out of the country, who knows? But any kind of reason, I'm happy to help and sit down with you and discuss what kind of marketing strategy, what things to be kind of on the lookout for or do to the property to get the home ready for listing, and when the best time is to list with what kind of strategy and marketing in place. This has been the September 2024 housing market update. See you on the next one.